Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with none other than the man, the myth, the Madonna-loving legend, Karl Bryan. Shoots, welcome to the show.
Shoots. Road Dog, how are you, buddy?
Buddy, I've seen some pictures of her lately. She looks horrible. Like, it's, but like, wow, what a way to start the podcast. Would you just for the memory of who she was, or like, or is has that?
I am not answering that question, but perfect. I love Madonna.
Perfect.
There we go.
Well, if it's one thing I know, no matter how old Tom Brady gets, you still have a man crush. So that's all good. Hey, listen, we were just talking in the pre-show. If you're not in the part of the pre-show, what are you doing? And there was a conversation in regards to giving away stuff for free to just, add fuel to the fire of your lead gen. It's what I wanted to say there, and I just want to add to that point is, yeah, 100%. Like you said it, everyone's so scared to give things away for free. Yeah. But even if you're hesitant on it, just throw out an order bump, right? Like just go, hey, by the way, like we were talking about, like a networking event. So, like, oh, you want a networking event? Cool. Yeah, you can attend them all for free. But if you want to sit at the VIP section, maybe that's where you have your order bump and you can sell that.
Perfect. So you sell a VIP. So networking is free. But if you want to sit in the first 3 spots, or you want to have a red band around your glass, or you want to have a, you want to have a bell on your drinks every time you pick it up, it makes a noise. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want to draw attention. Tony Robbins will have, like the top, like the VIPs. You come, it's $1,500 if you come, but if you pay 10 grand, you sit in the first 10 rows. And if Oprah's there and a celebrity is there, you're always going to be, that's where they're going to be, and you'll be knocking, rubbing shoulders with them and have a private dinner, etc. So yeah, like a VIP. There you go. That's it, bud. That's it. And maybe for context, real quick, Road Dog, we should explain. So basically, one of our coaches is getting a new client, and she owns 5 newspapers. We just said, so what is little red arrow? You are here. She's got 5 newspapers. She's super busy selling advertising. Said, how much are the ads? It's a local newspaper, not huge readership. So they're like, whatever, $1,000, call it, for the full page. Said, so if you really think about it, like $1,000, and does that solve the problem of the business owner? So the chiropractor, the dentist, butcher, baker, candlestick maker are buying those ads. Why do they buy the ads? And the answer is to try and grow their business and get their brand out there. So the question is, does the ad really work? And the answer is, well, kind of, you know what I mean? Like maybe, but it's not solving what they really need, what they really want. You want to grow a business. You need consulting significantly more than you do an ad, right? So the conversation went on, and it was just kind of the frame, right? Where I'd give you the dog for free to sell you the dog food. I would give you the coffee maker for free to sell you the coffee. I would give you the keg for free to sell you the beer. And it was just, how much do you think I would charge you for the ads to get you into my hopper, get you into my world, so that I could sell you $10,000 to $50,000 consulting? And your instincts would be correct. I would give those ads away for free to make it really, really easy to get in front of them. And then what we'd really be doing is selling consulting. But you have the psychology. So no doubt you could work out that would be a better business model. Instead of selling $1,000 full page ad, you're selling $10,000 to $50,000 consulting. Well, one of those is a significantly better business model, and your instincts are correct. The $50,000 consulting is a better business model, and again, brought in with freebies. But the challenge is, the psychology is that she's been doing that. Her dad owned the business for a long time, and she's been at it. But it's a 20-year publication. They're not going to want to just go for free, right? That's going to be really difficult to get their head around. But again, then I would introduce you. So you want an example of that? There's a little company called Facebook that apparently allowing people to have a free account is a really good idea. And just think of the functionality and the utility of Facebook, whether you love it or hate it, irrelevant. The thing is free, and you could load as many photos as you want. You can have as many friends as you want, or 5,000, but let's get serious, right? Nobody's really got 5,000 friends. So as many friends as you want, every high school person you ever knew. You can build a business page. You can build a group. The group software on Facebook is absolutely lights out. When they did a Super Bowl ad, Facebook, right? They promoted, the group component of Facebook. The groups. So anyway, so that's where the conversation went, and it was just, but they got to be able to get their head around doing something for free and having 3 in 10 people buy from them, and then have 7 people take advantage of their services, go to their networking, advertise in their publication, go to their events, and not pay $1, and then knowing that 3 in 10 are going to pay significantly more, which, by the way, needs dependent upon the business and dependent upon the market and dependent upon, the owner's capabilities. And do they want to build a really, really big business, or do they want to keep it tight? The psychology, the little red arrow, you are here, and then establishing what it is that they want. So there are nuances to all of that. But strictly speaking, if you really turn things upside down, you'll see that most people have a pretty flawed business model, and they're poop scared, like Road Dog started with, to do anything for free up front. And that would be a mistake in most cases.
So personal experience there, Karl, I'll say this. How many times have I been in a situation where I'm like, man, I really want to make some money. And then I'm like, okay, so I need to charge.
Yes.
How about, and guess what? 3 months later, I'm probably having the same conversation with myself. Whereas if 3 months prior, if I had just maybe worked for free for a month or two,
yep,
I'd now actually be billing.
Exactly. And buddy, high five. That is the roller coaster that business coaches and business owners follow. So the solutions here, like, you know what, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do this. Get live event mastery, get a local live event every Tuesday, 7 a.m. at the Chamber of Commerce, put 10 people in that room, do a bang up job. You may or may not get clients in your first one. You may or may not get 10 people to your first one, but go all in and do it over and over and over again. And I assure you, you'll get a compounding effect, and it will work. But again, how much are you going to get paid to do that event? And the answer is nothing. But presumably, a percentage of the audience is then going to put up their hand and buy consulting. So if you spent, say, $1,000 to put on a local event, and you got 2 clients at, say, $2,000 a month, which would be $24,000 each, would be $48,000. A return of $48,000 on $1,000 would be seen to be, Warren Buffett would be very impressive. It's got what that has is asymmetrical risk reward, where there's very little risk and a huge upside. So that would be worth doing. Or you could get on the phone and start interviewing local business owners, and then have those interviews parlay into, hey, let's get together and have a look at my software. Let's get together and let me try and critique your business and your business model and your practices to see if you could be significantly more profitable really quickly. So
just start a podcast, right? Like there's an easy way to interview people. Hey, by the way, the only thing that's more surprising than how simple, like, the live event strategy actually, like, how effective it is, the only thing that's more surprising than that is that we actually got some positive feedback about your jokes last week. So like that is shocking. So at the risk of bombing completely and losing absolutely all of our listeners, do you have a good one this week?
Do I have a joke? Well, my heavens. Preparation would be good. So my mind automatically, I go into my emails. Like, I send a daily email. Surely I can remember one of them. I know. I said, so I recently traveled to San Francisco, and I am not sure what exactly is going on in that city, but it's they either have a horrific homeless issue, or it's a monster camping success story.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Here we go.
Did I just light or positive? Is that bad? Is that good?
Trigger about 50% of the United States right now. It's awesome.
Whoops, sorry. Sorry, San Francisco. We love you. We love you. But there's something weird going on there. Anyways, that's enough shits. What do you think?
That's it. Okay. All right. Last episode, we did a brief thing of like top tips from like Tony Robbins, Warren Buffett. We actually had somebody come in, and really good point actually. You didn't include Charlie Munger in that. So like I thought brilliant. Like let's just quickly sum that up. We'll button that up with if you have anything, by the way. If not, we'll just move straight along. But Charlie Munger, do you have any of his sort of top business advice?
Yeah. So top business tips from Charlie Munger. You see, him and Warren Buffett are longtime business partners, right? Berkshire Hathaway. So a lot of that would probably mirror one another. Look, I think he's most known for inversion, and that's looking at the downside versus the upside. Or no, that's not the way to word it. Like what he will say is, okay, you want to test a bridge, and what they will do is put weight on top and say, how much can it hold? 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 It's like, oh, okay, well, it held enough. The bridge held enough that if there was a car or a truck on every square centimeter of the bridge, it wouldn't collapse. So this passes the smell test and that bridge is approved, right? Well, what Charlie Munger would do is, and one of his examples that he has of inversion is that he says, no, go approach it the opposite way. Take it, you got to stack the weight up until the bridge gives, and then acknowledge, obviously, at what point does it give, and then where does it give, how does it give, and now you've got like what could go wrong, and you can basically, you know what I mean, like you know where you need to do a little bit of extra welding, a little bit of extra hold, etc. So avoiding pitfalls. Versus put together a better step-by-step roadmap or plan. Okay, so avoiding pitfalls, stoicism would fall into there. Bill Belichick, right? He plans for what could go wrong versus what could go right. Anyway, so inversion, mental model. Another one he says, literally said this last week in a very important call, but show me the incentives and I'll show you the rewards. Or no, sorry. Show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcomes. And again, he's got a more impressive version of that, but that basically is it in a nutshell. You show me the incentives and I will show you the outcomes. Example, I don't know, top of mind, my daughter, I had to get her to clean her room yesterday, right? And it's like, what was in it for her? And it's, if she didn't do it, she's going to be sitting in her room for a long time. So that is, incentive to be able to get out of her room. Pay her $10, for doing her chores, and she cleans up the bathroom, she cleans up, her closet, cleans up the room, makes her bed, etc. So now she gets $10. So again, the incentives. But by the way, as she gets a little bit older, do you think $10 is going to incentivize her? And the answer is obviously going to be no. It's going to become, it's going to need to become more and more and more, right? And I don't know that she's doing much for $10 either, by the way, just quietly. But anyways, so show me the incentives, I'll show you the rewards. One of the things internally, like we've got some work that we're doing, and then we've got it so our folks are rewarded for 5-star reviews. Like that's what we're acknowledging. And one of the things that I said, which this is not a black and white thing, but at the end of the day, we're incentivizing for 5-star reviews. So guess what we're getting? 5-star reviews. And I said, okay, hang on a second. What we really need to do is look at the incentives and make sure that we're incentivizing in the right way. Because are we really looking to get 5-star reviews? Of course, 5-star review is better than a 3-star review or 1-star review or maybe no review. But that's ultimately, we're looking for our clients to get clients, and that should be incentivized. So that's an example. And that's a quote straight from Charlie Munger, which I think's got huge power. If you can't manage it, you can't measure it. That might have been Peter Drucker, or that might be Charlie Munger, but no doubt they both going to sing a similar. That you're going to struggle to find a billionaire that's not telling you should be managing things, and then if you do manage it, it's going to increase or it's going to improve, and if you don't manage it, it is not going to improve. I think that also, I don't know that this is Charlie Munger, but thinking in percentages is something that I've talked about for a long time as being like a wealth hack, right? So like if you go, look, example, when you're driving traffic to a landing page and you get a 2% conversion, and then you increase it from 2 to 3%, that's probably not going to excite anybody, certainly not the chiropractor, the dentist. But 2 to 3% is not a 1% improvement, that's a 50% improvement, right? When you got 20% profit margins and you increase them to 30%, on the surface, that feels like a 10% improvement, but it's not, it's a 50% improvement. And by the way, that's a great way to close coaching clients, because when you give them that example and they all of a sudden raise their eyebrows like, oh my goodness, like, I don't think like that, right? So what you do is you kind of, it's kind of like, speaking against, you're giving them an example where they lift their eyebrows to go, holy smokes, okay, this person's thinking at, a slightly higher level than I am currently. So yeah, shoots, that would be, and I think the premise of his whole message, this is Charlie Munger, is, he sees people rise up, and they are never, you could imagine when you're, worth, Lord knows how much he's worth, but call it $200 billion for the sake of the argument, some obscene number. That might be 100 million, it might be 200 million or billion. Got no idea, but he's the guy's worth many, many, many billions of dollars. That doesn't happen by accident, and you don't see a lot when doing that. So he just says that he sees people rise up, and they're not the smartest, they're not the most diligent, they're basically, you say, well, what are they then? Okay, if they're not the smartest and they're not the most diligent, they are learning machines. Like they go to bed every night just a little bit wiser, a little bit wiser, a little bit wiser when they woke up. And over the long haul, he'll tell you that that's just got an incredible impact. But unfortunately, you don't feel it. It's that thing, when you take a penny and you double it for 31 days, guess how much you got on day 31? And the answer is 10 million. The problem is it's day 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, forever. And it's just like, when you play Monopoly properly, how do you feel halfway through? And the answer is you feel like you're losing, because you buy everything, you run out of cash, and you got to flip over your cards. People want to avoid that, when in actuality, it's basically, part of the roadmap to success. So just imagine if so Charlie Munger would tell you that if you just improved 1% every day, 1% every day, 1% every day, 1% every day, you get this compounding effect. And 365 days from now, you wouldn't recognize yourself. So that's the premise. A little bit wiser every single day is the foundation, I think, of what you'll find that Charlie Munger's message is all about, Shoots. So there you go.
Well, it's interesting. My buddy Dan Martell, he always says you're either in an upward spiral or downward spiral. And by choosing to not do anything, you are automatically stopping the upward motion and going backwards. So yeah, there you go. Hey, listen, I wanted to, because I know we do have quite a few listeners that are either just getting into coaching or just have some real more, I guess, I don't want to say basic, because they're not basic. They're anything but basic, because they spend a lot of time on these questions. And I really want to dive into some of these today. I'm excited because I thought of them. So there you go. That's folks, that's how you know they're going to be good, right? Like, let's not kid ourselves. But so one of the first questions is, I was thinking about, like, if I was to create an ideal meeting schedule with a client, like, what does that look like? Like, what's the frequency? Am I meeting with them once a week? Because, oh my God, like, I only have so much time, right? So I'd love to get your thoughts on that. What is the ideal meeting schedule with a client?
Yeah, agreed. Good question, Road Dog. High five. So once a week. So once again, it's, you know what I mean? And to the individual, how much experience do they have? What level is the client? We were talking earlier about one of the challenges that our coach has with signing this one client, that she just doesn't have enough time. Well, you go in like legitimately, not hocus pocus, but like she is battling, creating 3 hours a week is just really challenging for her, right? In the current state of affairs. So you need to establish that. But once a week for the first 12 weeks, think of it as a snowball, right? You got a snowball, and once it starts to roll and once it starts to, build up, what happens? And it's like, the momentum kind of looks after itself. So you go once a week for the first 12 weeks, and then you go once every 2 weeks. Because if you do, one of the things you can do is you can overwhelm. You hear that clients are overwhelmed all the time. Well, sometimes it's the fact that they just, it's like every week, oh my gosh, again. Like once a week doesn't sound like a big deal until you got a weekly meeting on your calendar, and it feels like it's every day after a while, right? So that's a good framework. Once a week for 12 weeks, and then going once every second week. I would encourage anybody to do a bit of a, at the 12-week mark, I wouldn't just naturally and organically definitely go to the once every second week. Make sure that your snowball is starting to roll. I wouldn't go to every second week until I got a little bit of momentum, right? So, and remember, if it's their idea, they'll fight you for it. And if it's your idea, they'll fight you on it, right? Does that make sense? If their idea, they'll fight you for it. And if it's your idea, they'll fight you on it. So how do you do that? Coaching, guiding somebody, hypnotism is all about questions, just guiding, asking questions. Thinking is nothing more than asking and answering questions to yourself. So when you ask somebody questions, especially good ones, strategic ones, probed ones, what you're really doing is controlling the way they think, right? I would be thinking about that. You will get better at it over time. I certainly did. Yeah, you want all this stuff to be their idea instead of you saying, hey, do this, do that, etc. And careful to fall in, like you mentioned, like once a week, it's like group think theory kind of falls into, you don't want, just because everybody else is doing once a week, everybody else is doing every second week, because some big name told you that the right framework is to do it every second week, so that you can make more money per client and you don't get too busy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like you gotta, you need to do this your way. And most important thing you need to do is you need to get results for your client. And the characteristics of groupthink, I think it's, pressure to conform. And I don't think any coaches are kind of feeling that, but that's a groupthink thing. And it's illusion of invulnerability, self-censorship, and then unquestioned beliefs. So you want to make sure that groupthink doesn't kick in. And by the way, if you want like the prototypical flagship example or horrific example, it's the space shuttle, Challenger space shuttle disaster way back when. Like, I don't know if you know this, but they knew that there were issues and some faulty parts weeks before takeoff, right? And then think about it, like they pushed on. Why? Because they didn't, they had set a date. They didn't want the negative press. They didn't want to have to delay it. So they put those poor astronauts in harm's way, and you saw the basic, the result of it. Well, that was, group think theory at its finest. So, very, very careful to fall into, you got to be thinking on your own. You got to be thinking on behalf of your client. Let's not just do what everybody else is doing, because that's the way that it's always been done, so to speak. It's a little bit like we were talking about the newspaper earlier. This lady's got 5 local newspapers, charging pretty low advertising rates, doing the ads for free, and then selling $5,000 to $50,000 consulting is not the norm, not the way they've been doing it. But maybe that's exactly what they need, and to shake things up a little bit. By way of a business model. Imagine how much easier. Imagine if they have 100 advertisers now and say one of the publications. What if they had 500? How does that change readership? One thing I know, that if you have an ad in the newspaper, guess what you do? You pick it up and you read it. And when you pick it up and read it, guess what happens? Other people see it picking it up and reading it, right? So you get this network effect happening. Anyway, so there you go. Now, larger clients probably, we're going to need a little more TLC than smaller clients. Somebody who's paying you more will get more TLC, I would presume, than somebody who's paying you a little bit less. So I think that all those frameworks should be, if you can only get together, like you could do an online series of lessons. Like we have group coaching software, and you punch out, 4 lessons, and you could get together with them once a week after the 4 lessons, right? Like, again, ideal? No, but at the end of the day, if they're, on a budget and you're pretty busy, and you're just trying to get them, a little bit of knowledge so they can get their ducks in a row so they could actually be able to afford you, that might not be a bad way of doing it. So anywho, shoots, that's what I would say, bud. Once a week for 12 weeks, and then moving to every second week. is the frame that I would encourage.
And I know that this is shocking, and this will blow your mind, but
But
maybe just ask them, hey, how's the frequency? You know, and not to pull like an REM, what's the frequency, Kenneth, but like just, hey, are you happy with the way things are going? Do you need me? Do you want to speed up this 12-week cycle? Like, heaven forbid you actually ask your clients.
yeah,
Anyway.
very nicely said.
All right, next, you mentioned spitting like things out from the software. So obviously, if you are a coach with focus.com, you're aware of the software and all that it can provide. And basically, just to sum it up, it provides you a game plan for the year, right? And there's a sequential order there. So kind of just, I was kind of stepping back and going, well, yeah, okay, just because there's a sequential order, I also know Karl, and I know that he doesn't necessarily, he's more of a chaos theory kind of a guy from time to time. So, and I know that you love numbers. You always talk about diving into the numbers. So is that where you would go first? Like, you meet with a client, you're laying out the 12-week plan. Do you go with what the software tells you, or as you always used to say and still do the boring work because you know that it's gonna, pay for your coaching? Like, where do you go first?
Yeah. Once again, good question. So so I'll just start with the software. So the software has 497 million weighted algorithmic sequences, which basically a fancy way of saying that it's weighted, right? So there's certain things that we just know should come first. So as an example, let's say you got compelling offer, and then you've got a joint venture. And let's say that it's a business coach going to an accountant. Well, the compelling offer is going to weight significantly higher than joint venture, because when I go to the accountant and I say, hey, Mr. Accountant, I'm going to help your clients, help them get from where they're at to where they want to be, right? Which is a little bit of a throwaway line. Like, that's not like some compelling offer. So that joint venture partner is going to convert at a significantly lower percentage, at a lower percentage of the time, versus if I go in and I say, hey, Mr. Accountant, I can find any of your clients 100 grand, 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. By the way, it's all backed up with software with 497 million weighted algorithmic sequences that are going to populate a roadmap that you will then be able to use, or your business owners will then be able to use to walk forward and not only find the 100 grand, but be able to realize it straight into their bank account. Would you like me to sit with some of your clients? Would you like to take me for a test drive? So do you see how that compelling offer is going to get me the joint venture done at a significantly higher rate? So that's why the compelling offer will rank higher. And then, by the way, going into the numbers will again weight significantly higher than the others. So it's like almost default comes towards the top, because I think that you should dive in, but not always. So the answer is that, again, I'd be asking my client, getting a little bit of a feel. Think tactical versus strategic. I would get tactical in the first 90 days because I'm trying to put some runs on the board. I'm trying to put some money in their bank account. So strategic, but strategy eats tactics for breakfast. We all know that. You've heard that. It's a 101, and I totally agree. But I've just got this client, and if I can pay my way, if I can make them feel good short term, that's a good thing. Like, let's say that you got a huge, let's just say you got a client and they've got a lot of debt. Let's call a lot of debt $100,000, credit cards, car payments, and everything else, right? Well, what you do is I'd take all of those and I would go to the smallest amount, forget percentages and 20 grand on the credit card or 20% on the credit card, etc. All of that will be factored in, but not immediately. What I would do is go to the one card, let's call it the Walmart credit card, okay, that has a $1,300 balance, and we would pay that off immediately, right? That would be the first. We wouldn't put a dollar anywhere else. We'd put all extra, payments would go on that one card. Why? Because when they get the feeling and the satisfaction of taking that one card, paying it off, and being able to chop it up and throw it in the garbage and say never again, and now they get to move to the next bill or the next debt, you get a lot more momentum, because it's more about psychology at that point than anything else. So that's my example. Like I would start tactical and then move into strategic, knowing full well that you should always be strategic over tactical. But initially, I want to put some runs on the board. But once again, I would gauge the business. What's their cash flow like? You know what I mean? Like, are they like, you know, my fees, let's just say I was $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year. Is this 2,000 a walk in the park and it's nothing to even consider? Or is it something that should be worried about? Or something for them to worry about, and I got to make sure that I pay my way immediately. Well, that would adjust my approach a little bit. But starting with the numbers is what I would do. So what you do, Shoots, is look, I got to get 2 points. Little red arrow, you are here. We talked about that on the pre-show. I've got to understand where my client's at, right? Psychology-wise, financially, cash flow-wise, their debt position. You know what I mean? Just in psychology being a real important. Are they super aggressive and they got massive opportunity? I'd also want to understand where the industry's going and the company's gone. You know, are they in decline? Are they stagnant and kind of plateauing? Are they on steep increase? Well, that would adjust the way I would approach my, you know, like right now, a lot of people, their biggest problem is staff. So again, that would, you know, change my order of things pretty dramatically. Anyway, so I got to establish little red arrow, you are here. And then what do you want? We got to establish that. Remember Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant knew he wanted to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time. 15 years old, he said it straight into the camera. So he didn't deviate. It's not like he changed his mind halfway through Monopoly. He didn't change his mind. He didn't change his strategy. He didn't change his game plan. So being Kobe Bryant was kind of easy. Train 3 times a day or once a day. You know the answer. Eat broccoli or eat chocolate. You know the answer. Have a fight with your wife before the game or just take the damn trash out. You know the answer, right? So again, stay and watch film or go home because you're tired. You know the answer. You want to be if you want to be the greatest basketball player of all time. So by really helping them establish that what do you want, which is a million times harder than it sounds, by the way, can make your coaching significantly more effective. So there you go, Shoots. My answer.
All right, moving on. This is a big one in my personal opinion. So because there's a lot of talk of one-on-one and group coaching, and it's always like, well, which is better, right? So I'm not sure I'm going to ask you which is better, but I'm just going to ask you more the general question of how do you feel about one-on-one versus group coaching?
Little red arrow, you are here. You know, how much experience does the coach have? What do they want? Do they set, like, you know, earlier, again, we got somebody who's semi-retired in an RV going from one side of the country to the other. I'm like, do a national speaking tour, right? And like stop it, you know, and put LA, Vegas, New York, and all the other big cities on the t-shirt and the mug and the website and the landing page. And then like Hope, let's say Hope is a small town and it's got 25,000 people. Call the BNI, call the chamber, call anybody who would have like a network in that area and say, hey, I'm doing a national speaking tour and I just happen to be coming. I'm in an RV and I'm stopping in Hope. If you would like me to come and guest speak for an hour or two to your audience, I would be happy to do it during this week. Are you interested? And sometimes they will be, sometimes they wouldn't be, but what a home run strategy. The bottom line is semi-retired in an RV cruising along is very different than a guy who is 35 years old, 2 kids, and needs to make, you know, 200, you know what I mean, is hell bent on making $200,000 net profit because the job that he just left paid him that much and his wife's on top of him, yada, 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 right? So little red arrow, you are here. But one-to-one versus group, I mean, group is better than one-to-one as a frame. I think if you're getting going, you do one-to-one and then you move into group. If you don't know how to do one-to-one, you're going to have a hell of a time doing group. So I would say that. We've talked about this in the not too distant past, so I'll glaze over it. But one of the magics of group is the network effect, where when people show up, and there's, you know, 10, 50, 100 people, you know what I mean, sitting there taking notes, being guided by you as the group coaching, whether you own the business or not, frankly, the the individuals all want your attention, right? So it gets like a network effect. So a really good way of selling very high-end one-to-one, like again, 2005, way back in the day, I used to sell $600,000 was an inexpensive coaching program, had $500,000 coaching programs, right? So if you want that sounds good. You want to sell $100,000 coaching program, you're going to have to, there's going to need to be something working in your favor for them to choose you at a number that looks like that. If they don't know who you are, that's going to be a lot harder than if they've been exposed to you week after week after week after week after week in a group dynamic where you're answering questions, solving problems, and really impressing them. So, yeah, one-to-one. And here's this one more, Road Dog. I'm going to throw it back to you, but when you sell one-to-one, this is really important. You're selling one-to-one, you kind of sell your results and who you are. And when you want to sell group, you have to sell the results, or you should morph and graduate to selling results of your clients. Right? So you see that? So it's one-to-one is about you out there pounding the pavement, me. This is how I do it. This is how it's going to work. This is the result that you're going to get. And then, this is really importantly a frame. The results that you are going to get, the benefits of my coaching are X. The way you sell group coaching and the way you sell something, quite frankly, in a more powerful way, is promoting the results of the clients who are already working with you. That's when you start to get, that's what you want to morph and graduate towards. So one-to-one versus group shoots. If you're new, I think you're one-to-one, significantly more experience. Why wouldn't you do group? Because you do the group and then you still sell one-to-one, but you'll sell it at a significantly high, like at a premium, because of the network effect of being the person running the group. Does that make sense? So that's my answer. But fit group, you can have 10, 50, 100 people at one time, and one-to-one is, me and you, and that's time for money on steroids, which is not the worst thing in the world. People say, oh, I'm not a time for money guy. I'm not a time for money gal. I don't want to work for time for money. I mean, Warren Buffett earns, is time for money, just lots of money, but like it's unrealistic. Just be careful with the whole, oh, I don't cold call, I don't do this, these binary statements. Remember, very seldom, do you have passion? Do you not have passion? It's not binary. It's what level of passion do you have? Do they have belief in you or do they not have belief in you? It's not binary. It's how much belief do they have in you, right? So, yeah, that's my answer, Shoots. What do you think?
Okay, so the last question I have for you, and we got to wrap here, but obviously, especially over the past couple of years, right? There's been a lot more virtual events. Yep. So, and you and I, man, if we had $1 for every time we talked about doing local live events, we would be hundredaires. Like we would have hundreds of dollars.
Exactly.
Right?
Boom.
But it's totally not exaggerating. See what I did there? I kept it real. So anyways, local like a live event versus virtual event, because you always say like, hey, I'd be doing, I'd be booking out the next 12 events, blah, 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 blah. Does that change? Does the cadence of that change if you're going virtual? Like,
yeah,
or is it
events? We're not talking coaching calls, we're talking events. Is that right?
Correct. We're talking events, we're talking the actual going and getting client stuff.
Yeah. And like anything, it's got to be tested, so live, like you got to you got to factor things like, parking and traffic, right? Super important for your event. Like, at 4 o'clock in a really busy area, you're in trouble because everybody's going to, they're going to see the traffic, turn around and say, yeah, no, not happening. I'm going home. Can't find a parking spot. Sorry. I just, can't find a parking spot. Like they really want to come to your event and it's really great, but it's not worth 30 minutes of, hunting around for a parking spot. Got to, think these things through. So, on timing in virtual, you don't have that. What you have is if you want to do virtual, your audience needs to be a virtual, like in the coaching space, we can do virtual easily because most of us are, hanging out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and behind our computers, right? Well, the plumber, if you're doing a virtual event and you're doing it for plumbers, you got to do it before or after work. You know what I mean? Otherwise, You're just not going to, they're not going to take, because it's not your presentation is an hour, but it's not, because they're going to have to get to their computer. They're going to have to log on, watch you, and not to mention all the focused required in order to do that, which is not on their business, which is on the computer and getting on. And then once it's over, it's not like they kick straight into plumbing mode again, right? They got to get back in the car and get to the job site, etc. Anyway, so yeah, the cadence does, and it adjusts for audience as well. So, but strictly speaking, the cadence is the word that I heard there. I will tell you, consistency will outperform talent every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So the trick is to call your shots. Let's call it Tuesday at 7 a.m. and just do it every, like this podcast, right? Like we record this at the exact same time every single week, right? That's part of the magic of it. So anyway, so that, that consistency, that scheduling, I think is very important. If you don't have it on your calendar, it's not happening. We want to see somebody's priorities. Go look at their calendar, right? So there's their priorities right in front of you. So book it. But that's my answer, Shoot. Does that help? Anything you wanna...
I thought it was, if you want to see somebody's priorities, look at their bank account. I thought that's what it was. I guess it's a combination thereof, eh? All right, close us out, my man. One thing, you can only pick one only that somebody's going to take from this today and implement into their practice.
I found, I think we said little red arrow, you are here. Even that answer of, if you're going to plumbers versus going to coaches, or you're going to like a virtual environment, the people are more likely to be virtual than, in a truck on their way from job site to job sites. I got to say, little red arrow, you are here. In fact, I think I literally just sent it out. Was it today in an email? Oh yeah, it was today in an email, and I've said it a few times here in the last number of podcasts, but like, it's like prepare. Little red arrow, you are here. If you got to ask, are you coming ready to ask your client questions about, do you know what I mean? Like, do you have the list of questions ready? Do you have the answers from last week? Do you know how many kids they have, the age of those kids, the name of their wife, the relationship with their wife, like they work together, they don't work together, the wife loves the business, the wife loves, helping out and loves the fact that, hubby, or the opposite, the husband loves the fact that wifey is working, 50, 60 hours on a business to be able to build something one day, or is there pushback? I want to understand all of these dynamics, because they go, they're going to go into, like, the conversation and frankly the questions that I ask, because remember, thinking is nothing more than asking and answering questions to yourself. So by asking you questions in a strategic, prepared way, I can direct your thinking at a higher level, right? So little red arrow, you are here. And I would challenge you, if you're listening to this, what is your little red arrow, you are here? Have you taken the time to, do a diagnostic on your current situation and where you're at and your your strengths, your weaknesses, etc. And then, really work that out. And then once you work that out, the job just starts. The hardest part starts, and that's, what do you want? And remember, coaching is just the line in between those 2 points, right? So little red arrow, you are here, the importance of it. And, part of that is just the importance, what I said in the email, like, come ready with, like a joke, which I should have done that today. But, like, come ready with a joke for the, coaching call, which you may or may not use. Come ready with prepared materials. Come ready with a story that you want to deliver. And again, a story, what does every good story have? Remember when you watched Seinfeld back in the day, or it might have been Three's Company, and it might have been Friends, or whatever the show is, Breaking Bad. They all have one thing in every movie, E.T., whatever movie, right? Oh, by the way, I watched Whale last night, and that's like insane movie. My gosh, like, oh my God, Whale. Anyways, what does every story, every movie, every sitcom have in common if it has success? Conflict. So if you're going to tell your client a story Tell me what the conflict is going to be in the middle of that story. And then that story is going to work at a significantly higher level. And the better the story, there's something weird about, like, if you're a really, really good storyteller, you are a very entertaining person to listen to. And that is, I'm going to use the word attractive, right? But like magnetic it's magnetic. Whether it's people the opposite sex, the same sex, or possible clients, or people that are never going to do business with you, when you can spin a story tell a story in a compelling way, which again, a story has conflict right in the middle. That's got power. So that would be part of, if I'm going to come to the coaching call with a story, first thing I'm going to ask is, okay, what's your story? What's the conflict in the middle? And I want you to be able to tell me. So I don't know. There you go, Shoots. Little red arrow, you are here.
You know how I know that's important? Because you said it about 10 times in about the past 3 minutes. I love it. Buddy, if we were playing Karl Bryan bingo, that butcher, baker, candlestick maker, anywho, like, man, this has to happen. It's going to be magic when it does happen. By the way,
Shoots, little red arrow, you are here. I said that
at least 15 times, at least. I want you to re-listen to the last 5 minutes of the podcast when you get a chance. Hey, listen, I want to throw out one good quote here before I give my close, because I heard it yesterday, and I just thought it was so good. Vision, because you talk about clarity of what do you want. Yep. Vision is the thing that gives pain purpose.
Boom. Love it. Can I say it again?
Vision is the thing that gives pain purpose. The pain of building your business, everything else. Listen, like, as long as you're clear on the vision as to why you're building it, then that pain, it's got a purpose behind it. So keep going. On that note, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with none other than the little red arrow man, Karl Bryan. And if you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, where we can actually have one-on-one conversations with you, or you're not getting Karl's daily emails, just to learn more, go to focused.com and subscribe today. And again, of course, if you enjoyed the podcast, please rate, review, share, do all the things, as we would greatly appreciate that. And that is it for another week. We will see you in the next episode. And remember, everybody, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.